In this episode, we're going to take a look at Battle Arena Toshinden. I think I said on a podcast or on the forums or something that I would go into detail about this game and my personal story with it, so I'm here to pay the piper. See, Battle Arena Toshinden was the very first game I ever played on a PlayStation. When I was a kid, my mom took me to the mall, and inside of a Sears there was this counter hidden in between all the ladies' wear. My mom was looking for a dress or something, so I was hiding in the racks of clothes with my sister, or whatever kids do when they're bored, and waiting for my mom to shop, when I came across this out-of-the-way counter. It turned out to be a sales counter made specifically for video games with 2 demo stations on it. To this day, I still have no idea why the counter was right in the middle of ladies' wear, but that's not the point of this story. The point is, these 2 kiosks had some games in them. The first was a Super Nintendo with the newly released Donkey Kong Country in it. I had recently gotten that game, so I passed by it to see what was on the other demo unit. It turned out to be a PlayStation, the first one I had ever seen. At the time, I knew next to nothing about the PlayStation since it was fairly new, and none of my friends had one, so I was very excited to get my hands on it. The game inside of it was Toshinden, of course, and when I played it, the game blew me away. It was the very first 3D game I ever played, with Star Fox's sort of semi-3D excluded, and I can vividly remember thinking how amazing the graphics were, and that it was like nothing I had ever played before. Long story short, it knocked my socks off, and after that I wanted a PlayStation more than anything ever. Flash forward about 15 years though, and looking at Toshinden now, I have no idea how I could have loved it so much. It really is one of, if not the worst, fighting game on the PlayStation. Let's get one thing straight right off the bat. I am not hating on PlayStation graphics in general. Sure, all of them look sort of rudimentary at this point, but some like Saga Frontier 2 or Vagrant Story have aged much better than this game has. Granted, both those games came out a few years later, but you get my general point. The PlayStation may not be state-of-the-art these days, but this game was not exactly the best looking game on it anyway, so it's really not up to par in this area. The sound is equally irritating. Well, actually, I only hate the sound effects. The music is pretty good, especially for the time, but every character has about 3 to 5 special moves, and each one has a super annoying voice clip that goes with it. This might not be so bad if the special moves were a rare occurrence, but in general, I find myself using them almost exclusively because they're stronger and have better range than any of your normal attacks. And now that we're talking about the attacks, I might as well get into the overall control of this game. To say that it's bad is sort of an understatement. I mean, the game basically does what you want it to, but it does it all so slowly, and sometimes with such a long delay that it just ruins the entire experience. Between that and the incredibly high jumping, which seems to be in lots of 3D fighters of that era, the game just feels floaty and unresponsive. I don't think you'll be seeing it at any major tournaments anytime soon. The characters in this game are pretty decent, I guess, and a lot of them seem to be very similar to characters in Soul Blade, but this game predates that one, so they did a pretty good job with that part, I guess. That being said, every one of these characters has been done better in Soul Blade or Calibur, so really, there's no reason to play with them here. Surprisingly, this was not the last we'd hear of the Toshinden series. In fact, Tamsoft went on to make 3 more PlayStation titles and a Game Boy game before calling it quits. Not only that, but according to a semi-recent issue of Famitsu, Toshinden is coming back with an all-new Wii game made by Dream Factory. You may remember them as the team that worked on Tobal 1 and 2, as well as Air Guys for the PlayStation. I'm not really sure that this series needed to come back, but I guess it couldn't hurt. Despite its many flaws, Toshinden is always going to have a special place in my heart. It's the game that introduced me to 3D gaming, and it's one of the most random and fun memories I have of being a kid. That kiosk in the Sears was like an oasis in the desert, and while I may not like Toshinden anymore, it was a real lifesaver back then. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll see you next time.